If you are a parent with a student at Cal Poly, then this episode is for you. Today, we are going to talk about what it would look like for you to buy an investment property for your student to live in while they're going to Cal Poly, building equity over time and either selling it after graduation or continuing to keep it as an investment property. Welcome back to the Happy House Hacking Podcast, the podcast designed to help you navigate the path towards happy home ownership. We're your hosts, Owen and Camille Schwigerly, and today, this episode is perfect for any parent who has a student currently at Cal Poly or Cuesta, the nearby community college. The question today that we'll be answering is, should you pay rent for your student or should you buy a property instead and have your student's roommates help pay your mortgage so that way you can start investing in real estate? So this is a more common and strategic practice than you might think. So I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah, so let's just start by unpacking an obvious problem. Housing is expensive, and you got to pay to live somewhere, right? Everyone has to pay to have a roof over their head, or wherever you are in life, you got to pay your rent, pay your dues, pay your mortgage. And so the real question is, why is it so tough to find housing in San Luis Obispo?
Yeah, we are very proud Cal Poly alumni, as you can see with our our gear today, even have our Cal Poly pennant out. Now, when we were students at Cal Poly over a decade ago, it was still challenging to find housing just to rent, and it was competitive, and that was before even certain rent control was in place. So today, that problem has just compounded even more with the housing crisis of just no inventory available. So what we are seeing is some strategic parents are saying, you know what, instead of spending $12,000 to $20,000 a year for the next 3 to 4 years for my student to live comfortably, how about I buy maybe just a small condo or a small house for my student plus their friends and start making income on it. And that way I know my student A has housing that is secure, B, that it's actually nice and well maintained, and C, I can make a little profit on it.
Absolutely. It's wild how low inventory is, and there's just not enough houses available in our town. Our town has a population of about 46,000 people, and the college is like 20,000 people. So we are bursting at the seams with students when school is in session. And they've tried to build more housing on campus to provide options to people. However, there's always overflow. There's always people looking for housing in San Luis Obispo that need it. The closer to the college, the better, the more expensive it is because it's walking distance. It's the convenience and the lifestyle that so many students want or need. And it's just expensive because low inventory, high demand, which means prices are high. Competition is steep. And so students are competing for sometimes substandard units. I can't believe the condition of some of these rentals. We were students once and
Oh yeah, it was bad. I remember I remember this one apartment my roommates and I lived in. It was 2 stories and I was living upstairs and the upstairs bathroom had a mushroom growing in it. Okay. How does that happen in an upstairs bathroom? It was wild. And then we called the property managers, and my dad happened to be in town and saw the whole thing, and they just pulled it up, said it was good to go. And then a few months later, the downstairs bedroom had mold in it. Sometimes I'd get nosebleeds walking downstairs, and the property manager company sent out a handyman who just wiped it off and repainted and said it was good to go. So hopefully things have changed in 10 years, but it was bad. And we were paying a pretty penny to live walking distance to school. So now that I'm a parent, gosh, if I had my student living in a place like that, I'd be so upset. And I would want to buy a place if I could for them to live in that was well maintained.
It's really sad. And I mean, we have seen some really bad condition rentals where the owners don't invest any of it back into maintaining the property, which is just sad. And so the place gets run into the ground and then they're still renting it out. And sometimes they're renting out places that probably don't even have a certificate of occupancy, like converting an attic into like a bedroom loft or the garage into an extra unit without really going through the necessary permitting or like, code, making sure that it's safe for your students to live in. So that's the problem with renting in San Luis Obispo. You have limited options. You don't get to control or dictate the condition of the properties because there's so few. And you have to choose what's on the market. So,
And sadly, students do get taken advantage of from property management companies. This is a generalization, so it's not always the case. But in our experience, we've seen that a lot more frequently with those really large property management companies just because they can. There's
yeah.
such high demand that anyone would take any place to live.
Mhm.
So that is the sad reality of what's going on in the rental market, where if you are a parent who has the ability to make an investment, this is the perfect place to do it. So that way your student can have safe and clean and affordable housing.
Yeah. So sometimes they'll say we won't take cosigners, and they just don't want students because they assume the students will be living rough and just destroy the unit, which is not the case. So anyway, why buy a house instead? I mean, think about it. They got to live somewhere, and the average like cost per bed is close to $1,500 right now. If you're in on-campus housing, you can rent a little studio or one bed unit shared with 5 other people for $1,900 per month. So, that's a huge, huge cost. And you could probably do the same exact arrangement where you own it and then you have your student with their friends and roommates who are quality people that are selected and chosen by you and by your student, who then help pay that mortgage. So it's almost like you could buy the property and put that money back in your pocket versus putting it into somebody else's pocket.
Yeah, if you really look at the numbers, depending on how many roommates your student has, you could be cash flowing very easily and make a great investment where instead of you're losing up to $20,000 per year, you might be gaining a few extra thousand per year, plus building that equity
Yeah.
appreciation. So if you decide to sell after your student graduates, well, then great, you just made a few $100,000 and you didn't have to pay rent for someplace else during that time. Or what a lot of our clients who are Cal Poly parents have done, they've ended up keeping it as an investment. And that's become income that they can use to help fund their next student to go to school or help pay for grad school for their student. So there are a lot of options. And if you can keep the property after that 3 to 4 years, by all means, do it.
Yeah.
That would be a great investment here.
Yeah. And the sweet spot, we tend to find if you can get 3 bedrooms or more, you're going to do better on it just from a rental income potential. And 2 bedrooms could work. However, it may not be as much of a return, maybe a break even at best. So if you're looking, you want to find that 3 unit or more if possible.
Yeah, and one other financial benefit too would be the tax deductions that you could get. So definitely talk to your CPA if you are seriously considering an investment, but we always want tax benefits, right? So look into what those tax deductions could be if you end up buying an investment property here in San Luis Obispo.
Yeah. And I just remember our friends whose parents bought housing for them while they were a student at Cal Poly. They did very well financially. So they were able to have secure housing for 2, 3 years. They didn't have to move around a lot. And the property appreciated 100 to $200,000 during that time. I remember when I first started at Cal Poly, the median sales price of a house in San Luis Obispo was around 400,000. By the time I had graduated, it was 600,000, and today the median sales price is about 900,000. So it's just continued to do well over time as an investment.
Yeah, and the types of properties to look forward to. Also, we didn't talk about condos yet.
Yeah,
And
condos are great.
that's a really good option because condos are usually more affordable than single family homes. And one consideration would be HOA. So you obviously don't want a really high HOA, but a condo that has a smaller HOA would be great. And those are awesome entry level investments, and that would make a lot of sense for your student, especially if you do plan to sell shortly after they graduate and they're only going to be there for a few years, then look at condos. That's a really good affordable option.
Another thing to think about is if your student has a 529 account set up where you've been putting money away for them to go to college, a portion of that revenue can be used for boarding, housing, a housing allowance. And so what some of our clients have done is they use that 529 money as gift money to go towards the down payment to help get their student into the house. The parents will either be on title with their student or they are the only ones on title using the funds as a gift, and then they can gift it to the student in the future as an investment property. But there are so many strategic benefits to looking at your 529 funds and investing that into owning the property rather than just renting.
Yeah, and this could be the gateway to help your student get into home ownership, where if you are going in on the property with your student, maybe they've built up credit, maybe they have a little bit of a down payment they can contribute. You can structure it in a way where you're both on title and your student is getting those benefits as well to
Yeah.
help them be able to buy their next house in the future. So there are a lot of options, and we work with great lenders. If you're curious, we'd love to connect you with a lender to talk about what that would look like for you. And, maybe it's pulling out a line of credit on your primary home in order to have the funds to buy an investment. Maybe it's just buying a straight investment property. Maybe you currently have a rental that isn't doing so well and you want to exchange into a rental down here. There are so many paths you can take. And I definitely think it's worth exploring that option if this is something that you can do.
Yeah. And then it's like you're giving your student training wheels in property management and investing in real estate. You're helping out that student get a leg up in life, learning what it would take to become a property manager, to select tenants and roommates and have rules and regulations and maintain a property. It's preparing them for home ownership and helping them succeed in life.
Yeah, so we specialize in helping Cal Poly parents find properties if that's what they're looking for. And we would love to connect with you. We know all about the local rules and regulations. We know what neighborhoods are walking distance to the campus, what areas would be a great investment. And we live just a few miles from Cal Poly too, so we're very close. And we'd be happy to connect with you to share more about what that could look like. So please reach out to us. We're always available. We've helped a number of families do this, and it's paid off very well for them. So if you'd like to learn more, like I said, feel free to reach out. This might be a bold move, but it's definitely worthwhile, especially if you are looking to start investing. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time. And go Mustangs!
Go Mustangs.